The stars looked cold and empty from the bridge of the human ship Endeavour. Commander Jake Morrison stood at the main window, watching the distant lights twinkle in the darkness. He had been in space for 15 years, but the sight never got old. Tonight felt different, though. Something was coming. He could feel it in his bones. The Galactic Council ruled everything out here. They had been in charge for 3,000 years, and they made sure everyone knew it. Their ships were huge and beautiful, made of some kind of crystal that caught starlight and threw it back in rainbow colors. When council ships moved through space, other races got out of the way fast. Jake had seen those ships up close during the Rim Wars. Humanity had fought alongside the council then, proving they could be useful in a fight. The council had been surprised. Most of them thought humans were just another primitive species that would fall in line and do what they were told. They were half right. Humans did what they were told, but they had their own way of doing it. The communication system beeped, pulling Jake from his thoughts. He walked over to the control panel and checked the readings. What he saw made his blood run cold. Someone was broadcasting on frequencies that did not exist. At least they were not supposed to exist according to every council textbook Jake had ever read. The signal was coming from deep space, from a region called the Void Sectors. Nobody went there. The council had put up warning beacons around the whole area 1,000 years ago. The official story was that an old enemy called the Zerathi had lived there once. The council had fought a war with them and won. Now the whole region was poisoned with radiation and filled with the wreckage of dead worlds. Jake called Dr. Lisa Carter to the bridge. Lisa was the ship's expert on alien languages and cultures. If anyone could figure out what this signal meant, it would be her. She arrived 10 minutes later, her red hair messy from sleep and her green eyes curious. "What do you have for me, Jake?" she asked, settling into the chair next to the communications console. "Listen to this," Jake said, playing back the recording. The voice that came through the speakers was female and spoke perfect Galactic Standard, the language everyone used for official business. But there was something strange about it. The words were clear, but they seemed to carry weight, like each one was carved from stone. "The Reaper comes," the voice said. Nothing more. Lisa frowned and played the recording again. Then again. On the fourth time through, her face went pale. "Jake, this is old Zerathi. I am sure of it." "That's impossible. The Zerathi are extinct. Have been for 1,000 years. I know what the history books say. But I also know what I'm hearing. This is old Zerathi, and whoever is speaking it knows what they are doing." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. He had heard stories about the Zerathi War when he was a kid. Most people thought they were just scary tales to keep children in line. The monster stories parents told when they wanted their kids to behave. But if Lisa was right, then something from those old nightmares was still out there. The signal came. Again, stronger this time. The Endeavor's computers had been trying to trace its source, and now they had an answer. It was coming from a ship. A big one, moving through space faster than anything Jake had ever seen. The readings made no sense. According to the instruments, the ship was traveling at light speed without using any kind of engine they could detect. Captain Ben Richards arrived on the bridge just as the third transmission came through. Ben was a good captain, fair and smart, with 20 years of experience in deep space. He took one look at the readings and called Earth Command immediately. The conversation was short and mostly consisted of Ben saying, "Yes, sir," and "Understood, sir," while someone on the other end gave him orders. When he finished the call, his face was grim. "We have new orders," he announced to the bridge crew. "We are to investigate the source of these transmissions, full stealth protocols. This mission is classified at the highest level." Jake looked at Lisa, who was still staring at the communication console like it might bite her. "What else did you find?" he asked. "I have been running the voice pattern through our databases. The pronunciation, the way certain words are emphasized. Jake, this is not just any Zerathi speaker. This is someone who learned the language as a child, someone who grew up speaking it. But that would mean someone survived. Someone who should have died 1,000 years ago is still out there." The Endeavor changed course toward the Void Sectors. As they traveled, more signals came through. Each one was the same voice, but the message was different each time. She remembers. She comes. The debt will be paid. The words sent shivers through the crew. Even the veterans, men and women who had fought in the Rim Wars and seen things that would give most people nightmares, seemed nervous. There was something about that voice, something that reached deep into the primitive part of the human brain where fear lived. 3 days out from Earth, they reached the edge of the void sectors. The space here looked different. The stars seemed dimmer, and there was a strange quality to the darkness between them. It was like looking into deep water where you could not see the bottom. Their long-range sensors picked up something impossible, energy signatures moving through space in patterns that defied everything they knew about physics. The readings were so strong that Dr. Carter had to recalibrate the instruments twice to make sure they were not malfunctioning. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Amy Foster from the tactical station. "I am reading a massive energy source directly ahead. It is bigger than anything in our databases." "On screen," Ben ordered. The main viewer flickered to life, showing them what lay ahead. At first it looked like empty space. Then the computer enhanced the image, and they saw it. A ship, if it could be called that. It was enormous, easily 10 times the size of the Endeavour. But what made it truly terrifying was its color, or rather, its lack of color. The ship was absolutely black, so dark that it seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. It was like looking at a hole cut out of reality itself. "My God," whispered Ben. "What is that thing?" Before anyone could answer, the communication system came alive again. This time, the voice was not a recording transmitted across space. It was coming from the black ship, broadcast directly to them. "I am Zarathus, last daughter of the Zarathi. I am the Reaper of Worlds, the Ender of Empires. I have slept for 1,000 years in the deep dark, but the blood of my people cries out for justice." The bridge fell silent. Everyone stared at the screen, at the impossible ship floating in the darkness ahead of them. Jake felt his heart pounding in his chest. The bedtime stories were real. The monster from the old tales was here, and she was talking to them. "Who dares enter the place of death?" the voice continued. "Speak or be consumed by the void that took my world." Captain Richards stepped forward, his voice steady despite the fear Jake could see in his eyes. "This is Captain Ben Richards of the Earth vessel Endeavour. We received your transmissions and came to investigate." There was a long pause. When the voice came again, it sounded curious rather than threatening. "Earth, the young world, the newest, servants of the Council." Another pause. "Tell me, humans, do you know the truth of what happened here? Do you know what your masters did to my people?" Jake looked around the bridge. Everyone was staring at him, waiting for someone to say something, but nobody had an answer. The history book said the Zarathi had been evil, that the Council had saved the galaxy from them. But looking at that ship, hearing that voice, Jake began to wonder if the history books had been lying all along. Captain Ben Richards felt sweat running down his back as he stared at the black ship on the main screen. The thing was massive, bigger than any vessel he had ever seen, and it moved in ways that hurt his brain to watch. One moment it was there, solid and real. The next it seemed to fade like smoke, only to reappear somewhere else entirely. "Captain," Lieutenant Amy Foster called from her station, her voice tight with worry. "That ship is putting out more energy than our entire fleet back home. The readings are impossible. It is like they have a small star inside that thing." Zarathus spoke again, her voice filling the bridge like distant thunder. "You ask about truth, human captain? Very well. I will show you truth. But know this. Once you see what I have to show you, there will be no going back. Your comfortable lies will be ashes in your mouth." Dr. Lisa Carter leaned forward at her station. "Captain, she is using communication protocols that are older than the Council itself. I have never seen anything like this. It is as if she learned these languages before they changed over the centuries." Ben made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. "We want to know the truth, show us." The black ship moved closer to the Endeavour, and Jake Morrison felt his stomach drop as their sensors went crazy. The alien vessel was not just big. It was doing things to space around it that made no sense. Light bent around its hull in impossible ways, and their instruments kept giving readings that contradicted each other. Suddenly, their communication system came alive with data. Not voice this time, but pure information flowing directly into their computers. Lisa worked frantically at her console trying to make sense of what they were receiving. "It is historical records," she said, her face pale. "Battle reports, planetary surveys, population counts. Captain, this is documentation of the HFY War, but not like anything in our databases." The main screen flickered and showed them images that made Jake sick to his stomach. Planets burning from orbit. Cities melting under energy beams. Billions of people running in terror as council ships rained death from the sky. The official records had said the HFY were monsters who threatened galactic peace. These images showed something very different. "The council came to us with demands," Zaratha said, her voice now carrying a weight of ancient pain. "They wanted our technology. We had learned to think faster than organic minds, to travel between the spaces that exist between spaces. We had built machines that could reshape matter itself. They called it dangerous, they called us heretics." More images flowed across the screen. HFY cities that looked like works of art, with buildings that seemed to grow rather than be built. Jake saw families, children playing in gardens that floated in the air without any visible support. These were not the monsters from the history books. These were people living in peace. "We refused to give them our secrets," Zarathes continued. "We told them that such power should not belong to any one group, that it should be shared freely among all thinking beings. They declared us enemies of galactic peace and launched their holy war." Ben felt his world turning upside down. Everything he had been taught, everything humanity had been told about their place in the galaxy was built on lies. "How many of you survived?" "One," came the simple answer. "Only one." The weight of that single word hung in the air like a physical thing. Jake tried to imagine it, being the last of your entire species, watching everyone you had ever known, or loved die while you floated alone in the darkness of space. "How?" Lisa asked, her voice barely a whisper. "I was different even among my people. Part organic, part machine, part something else entirely. When the final attack came, when they burned my homeworld to glass, I was in deep space. I felt every death, heard every scream across the quantum links that connected all HFY minds. Then silence. Eternal silence." Amy checked her instruments again. "Captain, I am detecting weapons systems on that ship that I cannot even begin to understand. Whatever she is, whatever that ship can do, we would not stand a chance in a fight." Zarathes seemed to hear her. "Your tactical officer speaks truth, young human. This vessel was built for one purpose, to end the council that murdered my people. For 1,000 years I have drifted in the deep void, gathering strength, learning, planning. The whispers you heard were me testing the old communication networks, seeing if any of the council's servants would hear and remember the name that once made them tremble." Ben realized they were in the middle of something much bigger than a first contact situation. They had stumbled into a war that had been brewing for a millennium. "What do you want from us?" There was a long pause before Zarathes answered. "I want nothing from you humans. You are young, new to the galaxy. You have not yet learned to see the council as gods instead of beings like yourselves. Perhaps that is why you came here when others would have fled." Jake stepped forward. "We fought alongside the council in the Rim Wars. They gave us membership, a place among the galactic community. Yes, I know of this. You impressed them with your tactics, your refusal to surrender even when facing impossible odds. They see you as useful tools, nothing more. Tell me, human commander, do they treat you as equals? Do they share their advanced technology freely? Do they invite you to their inner councils?" The questions hit home because Jake knew the answers. Humanity was the junior partner in every arrangement with the council. They got the dangerous missions, the difficult assignments, while the council species kept the best territories and the advanced technology for themselves. "I thought not," Zarathes said, somehow reading his silence. "You are where my people were 1,000 years ago. Useful enough to keep around, dangerous enough to watch carefully. The only difference is that we refused their demands. You have not been asked to choose yet." Ben felt a chill run through him. "Asked to choose what?" "Whether to serve or to burn. The Council allows no middle ground. You will give them what they want, or you will become another cautionary tale whispered in the dark corners of the galaxy. Dr. Carter had been working at her station throughout the conversation, analyzing the data Zarathus had shared. Now she looked up with fear in her eyes. Captain, I have been checking these records against our own databases. The dates, the locations, the population figures. It all matches up, but the perspectives are completely different. Our records make the Council look like heroes. These records show the truth, Zarathus finished. The Council writes history to suit their needs. The victors always do. Amy's tactical display suddenly lit up with new contacts. Ships were approaching from multiple directions, moving fast and broadcasting Council identification codes. Captain, we have incoming. Multiple vessels, heavy cruisers, and battleships. They will be here in 20 minutes. They have been watching, Zarathus said, and for the first time, Jake heard something like amusement in her voice. The Council monitors all communication in this region. They know someone has come to disturb their carefully buried secrets. Ben felt the weight of command settling on his shoulders like a lead blanket. In 20 minutes, he would have to choose between the government that had given humanity a place among the stars and a being who claimed that same government had committed genocide. Either choice could doom his species. What happens now, he asked. Now, young captain, you learn what your species is truly made of. The Council ships come to silence the truth once again. They will order you to withdraw and forget everything you have seen here. They will promise rewards for obedience and threaten destruction for defiance. The black ship began to change, its hull seeming to shift and flow like liquid metal. Weapon systems that looked like nothing in human experience emerged from hidden compartments. I have waited 1,000 years for this moment, Zarathus said. The debt will be paid. The only question is whether humanity will stand with justice or with comfortable lies. Jake looked around the bridge at his crewmates. He saw fear in their faces, but also something else. The same stubborn refusal to back down that had gotten them through the Rim Wars. The same spirit that had driven humans to reach for the stars despite having primitive technology compared to their neighbors. 20 minutes to choose between everything they had been taught and everything they had just learned. 20 minutes to decide the future of the human race. The Council ships were getting closer. The Council ships dropped out of hyperspace like falling stars, their crystal hulls catching the distant starlight and throwing it back in brilliant flashes. Captain Ben Richards counted 12 vessels on his screen, each one larger and more heavily armed than the Endeavor. They formed a perfect circle around the human ship and the mysterious black vessel that belonged to Zarathus. Incoming transmission, Lieutenant Amy Foster announced, her voice steady despite the sweat Jake Morrison could see on her forehead. The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the lead Council ship. The being that appeared was a Corex, one of the warrior priest species that served as the Council's military arm. His face was covered in ritual scars, and his eyes glowed with an inner fire that spoke of absolute certainty in his cause. I am War Commander Thaler of the Council Fleet, the alien said, his voice carrying the authority of 3,000 years of galactic rule. You will immediately withdraw from this forbidden zone and submit to memory adjustment. The secrets buried here are not for young species to uncover. Ben felt his jaw clench. Memory adjustment was a polite way of saying they planned to mess with his crew's minds, to make them forget everything they had seen and learned. This is Captain Richards, the Earth vessel Endeavor. We are conducting a peaceful investigation under the terms of our membership agreement. Thalar's scarred face twisted into something that might have been a smile. Your membership agreement does not extend to interfering with classified Council operations. You will comply, or you will be removed. And if we refuse? Ben asked, though he already knew the answer. Then you will be considered hostile to galactic peace and dealt with accordingly. The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Everyone looked at Ben, waiting for orders that could save or doom them all. He had maybe 5 minutes before the Council ships opened fire. Captain, Dr. Lisa Carter said quietly, I have been analyzing the data Zarathus shared with us. The evidence is overwhelming. The Council really did commit genocide against the Zarathi. Everything we have been taught is a lie. Jake moved to the communication station. Sir, we are receiving a tight beam transmission from Earth Command. They want to know our status. Ben realized that his next decision would not just affect his crew, but potentially all of humanity. If he obeyed the council, they would live but remain ignorant servants of a corrupt system. If he refused, they might all die, but the truth would at least have a chance to survive. "Open a channel to the council ships," he ordered. Amy's fingers flew over her controls. "Channel open, sir." "War Commander Thaler, this is Captain Richards. I need to know something before I make my decision. Did the council really destroy the Zarathi civilization?" There was a long pause before Thaler answered. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of absolute conviction. The Zarathi were a threat to galactic stability. Their technology was dangerous, their philosophy heretical. They refused to submit to proper authority. The council did what was necessary to preserve peace. "You murdered billions of innocent people," Ben said, his voice shaking with anger. "We saved trillions more," Thaler replied without hesitation. "The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. This is the foundation of galactic civilization." Ben looked around his bridge one more time. His crew was watching him, waiting for his decision. These were good people, men and women who had trusted him with their lives. Whatever choice he made, he would have to live with the consequences. "Then we refuse," he said simply. The reaction was immediate. The council ships powered up their weapons and energy readings spiked across Amy's tactical display. Ben had maybe 30 seconds before they opened fire. That was when Zarathus acted. The black ship simply vanished from one spot and appeared in another, moving faster than human eyes could follow. One moment it was beside the Endeavor, the next, it was behind the council formation, its impossible weapons already firing. Jake had never seen anything like it. The black ship's weapons did not just destroy the council vessels, they unmade them. Matter simply ceased to exist where the energy beams touched it, leaving perfect spheres of nothing in their wake. 3 council ships died in the first 2 seconds of combat. "Evasive maneuvers," Ben shouted, but the Endeavor was built for exploration, not combat. They were too slow, too clumsy compared to the warships around them. War Commander Thaler's ship spun around, bringing its main guns to bear on the black vessel. But Zarathus was already gone, phasing in and out of normal space like a ghost. The council weapons passed harmlessly through empty space while return fire carved another ship into nothingness. "How is she doing that?" Amy asked, her voice filled with awe and terror. "She is not just moving fast," Lisa said, studying her instruments. "She is moving through dimensions we cannot even detect." The Zarathi learned to step outside normal space-time. The battle was not really a battle at all. It was a demonstration of power that the galaxy had not seen for 1,000 years. The council ships were among the most advanced vessels in known space, but they were fighting an enemy that operated by different rules entirely. 2 more council ships died, their hulls simply ceasing to exist. The remaining vessels began to retreat, but Zarathus was faster than their escape systems. She appeared in front of them, cutting off their retreat. "Enough," Thaler's voice boomed across all frequencies. "In the name of the Galactic Council, I order you to cease this attack." Zarathus's ship stopped moving, hanging in space like a dark star. When she spoke, her voice carried across every communication channel in the system. "I am Zarathus, last daughter of the Zarathi. You destroyed my world, murdered my people, and tried to bury the truth in lies. I do not recognize your authority. I do not accept your peace. I reject your civilization." "The Zarathi threat was ended 1,000 years ago," Thaler said, but Jake could hear fear creeping into his voice. "You are the last of a dead species. Surrender now, and your death will be quick." "I am the last, yes, but I am not dead, and I remember everything." The black ship began to change shape, its hull flowing like liquid metal. Weapons systems that looked like nothing in any database emerged from hidden compartments. Energy readings climbed to levels that made the Endeavor's instruments scream warnings. "You want to see what Zarathi technology can really do?" Zarathus asked. "You want to understand what you destroyed? Let me show you." Jake watched in fascination and horror as the black ship began to glow with an inner light. The energy it was gathering was beyond anything he had ever imagined. If she released it, it would not just destroy the remaining council ships, it would sterilize the entire system. Wait, Ben called out. Zarathus, if you do this, you become what they said you were. You become the monster they painted your people as. The energy buildup stopped. The black ship hung motionless in space, its weapons pointed at the council formation. Your captain speaks wisdom, Zarathus said finally. I came here for justice, not revenge. But justice requires witnesses. She turned her attention to the remaining council ships. You will return to your masters with a message. Tell them that the last daughter of the Zarathi has awakened. Tell them that the debt of blood will be paid, but it will be paid in truth, not in murder. The galaxy will know what you did here. The council will never allow it, Thalar said. We will hunt you down. We will destroy you and anyone who helps you. Then you will try, she replied. But I have had 1,000 years to prepare. I am no longer the same being who fled the burning ruins of my homeworld. I have become something new, something your weapons cannot touch. The black ship began to move away from the battle zone, but not before opening a communication channel to the Endeavor. Captain Richards, you have chosen to stand with truth over comfort. That takes courage. Your species may be young, but you have something the Council has forgotten. The ability to grow, to change, to become more than you were. What happens now? Ben asked. Now you return to your people and tell them what you have learned. The choice I was never given will be offered to them. They can remain servants of a corrupt system, or they can help me build something better. The Council will never allow humanity to choose, Jake said. Then we will make them allow it, Zarathus replied. The old order is ending whether they accept it or not. The only question is whether it ends in wisdom or in fire. The black ship vanished, leaving the Endeavor alone with the surviving council vessels. War Commander Thalar's scarred face appeared on the screen one last time. This is not over, humans. You have chosen the wrong side. Maybe, Ben said quietly, but at least we chose. The council ships jumped to hyperspace, leaving the human vessel alone in the void. Ben looked around his bridge, at the faces of his crew. They had crossed a line today, made a choice that would echo through history. Set course for Earth, he ordered. It is time to tell our people the truth. The journey back to Earth took 3 days, and Captain Ben Richards spent every hour of it wondering if he had doomed his entire species. The evidence of council crimes filled the Endeavor's databanks, but he knew that evidence meant nothing if there was no one left alive to see it. Dr. Lisa Carter had not left her station since they departed the void sectors. She worked day and night translating more of the Zarathi records and cross-referencing them with human databases. What she found made the original discovery look small by comparison. Captain, she said on the morning of the 3rd day, her voice hoarse from exhaustion. You need to see this. The Zarathi were not the only ones. The Council has done this before, dozens of times. Any species that develops technology beyond a certain level, any civilization that refuses to submit completely, they all meet the same fate. Jake Morrison looked over her shoulder at the data scrolling across her screen. Names of species he had never heard of. Entire civilizations wiped from existence because they dared to think they deserved freedom. How many? Ben asked quietly. At least 47 confirmed extinctions over the past 3,000 years, probably more that we have not found records for yet. The weight of that number settled over the bridge like a funeral shroud. 47 species, each with their own cultures, their own dreams, their own children playing in gardens that no longer existed, all of them reduced to footnotes in council history books, if they were mentioned at all. Sir, Lieutenant Amy Foster called from her station. We are receiving priority transmissions from Earth Command. They want us to report to Luna Station immediately upon arrival. Ben nodded grimly. Luna Station was where the Council kept their Earth liaison office. Someone had told them about the incident in the void sectors, and now humanity's masters wanted to have a talk. When the Endeavor docked at Luna Station 6 hours later, Ben was not surprised to find Admiral Helen Brooks waiting for him. What did surprise him was the expression on her face. Instead of anger or fear, he saw something that looked almost like relief. "Walk with me, Captain," she said, leading him away from the docking bay and toward the station's observation deck. "We need to talk, and I suspect we do not have much time." The observation deck looked out toward Earth, the blue marble hanging in space like a jewel against the darkness. Ben had seen the site thousands of times, but today it looked fragile, vulnerable. "How much do you know?" he asked. "More than I should, less than I need to," Helen replied. "The Council has been pressuring Earth Command for months, demanding new concessions, new restrictions on human expansion. They want us to hand over our latest military technology, including the quantum communication systems we developed during the Rim Wars." Ben felt a chill run through him. The same demands they made to the Zerathi, exactly, and when we started asking questions about why they needed our technology, they became very interested in making sure we understood our place in the galactic order. A new voice spoke from behind them. "Your place is as servants, nothing more." Ben turned to see War Commander Thaler stepping onto the observation deck, flanked by 2 other Council representatives. The scarred Corex warrior looked even more intimidating in person than he had on the communication screen. "Admiral Brooks, Captain Richards," Thaler continued, his voice carrying the same absolute authority Ben remembered from their confrontation in the Void sectors. "You will surrender all data relating to your encounter with the Zerathi terrorist. You will submit to memory adjustment. You will never speak of what you saw." Helen stepped forward, and Ben was surprised to see no fear in her eyes. "And if we refuse? Then humanity will join the long list of species that chose extinction over submission. 47 species, Ben said quietly. "We found the records. We know what you really are." Thalar's scarred face showed no emotion. "The Council maintains galactic peace. Sometimes that requires difficult decisions. The strong survive, the weak are forgotten. This is the natural order." "There is nothing natural about genocide," Helen said, her voice sharp with anger. "You are a young species," one of the other Council representative said. This one was a Zenari, its ethereal form shifting slightly as it spoke. "You do not understand the complexities of maintaining order across thousands of worlds. The Zerathi were given every opportunity to comply. They chose destruction." Ben felt his temper rising. They chose freedom. They chose to keep their technology, instead of handing it over to tyrants. "They chose to threaten galactic stability," Thaler replied, "just as you are choosing now." The observation deck fell silent except for the hum of the station's life support systems. Ben looked out at Earth again, thinking about the billions of people living their lives in complete ignorance of the choice that was about to be made for them. That was when the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in a moment later, bathing everything in a red glow. Alarms began to sound throughout the station, and Ben could hear running footsteps in the corridors outside. "What is happening?" the Zenari demanded. Their answer came over the station's communication system. The voice that filled the air was one Ben recognized, though it sounded different now. Stronger, more confident. "I am Zarathis, last daughter of the Zerathi. I have come to collect a debt that is 1,000 years overdue." Through the observation deck windows, Ben could see ships appearing around Earth. Not just one black vessel now, but dozens of them. They materialized out of nowhere, surrounding the planet like dark stars. "Impossible," Thaler breathed. She was alone, the last of her kind. "I was alone," Zarathus's voice continued. "But I am no longer the same being you remember. I have had 1,000 years to learn, to grow, to become something new. I have built a fleet from the quantum foam itself, shaped matter and energy into tools of justice." The largest of the black ships appeared directly outside the observation deck, close enough that Ben could see details of its impossible hull. The vessel was beautiful in a terrifying way, like a living shadow given form and purpose. "People of Earth," Zarathus said, her voice now broadcasting on every frequency, reaching every person on the planet. "Your leaders have been told to choose between freedom and destruction. The same choice offered to my people 1,000 years. Ago. I am here to ensure that this time the choice is truly yours to make. Thaler activated a communication device, speaking rapidly in a language Ben did not recognize. Within minutes, Council ships began appearing around Earth's orbit, their crystal hulls gleaming with weapon energy. You are outnumbered, Thaler said. The Council fleet will destroy you and any who stand with you. Will they? Zarathus asked, and Ben could hear amusement in her voice. The battle that followed was unlike anything in recorded history. The Council fleet was massive, hundreds of ships representing the combined military might of 7 ancient civilizations. They should have overwhelmed any opposition through sheer numbers. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to exist partially outside normal reality. The black ships moved through space, like thoughts through a mind, appearing and disappearing at will. Council weapons passed harmlessly through targets that were there one moment and gone the next. But the Black Fleet was not just running. Their return fire was devastating, unmaking Council ships with weapons that operated on principles beyond current understanding. Each time a Council vessel was destroyed, its matter was not dispersed but transformed, converted into energy that fed back into the Black Fleet. She is using our own ships to grow stronger, the Zenari said, its ethereal form flickering with what Ben recognized as fear. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, half the Council fleet was gone, converted into raw material for Zarathus's impossible vessels. The surviving Council ships retreated to the edge of the system, maintaining a cautious distance. It is finished, Zarathus announced. The old order is broken. Humanity, you are free to choose your own path among the stars. Admiral Brooks stepped forward to the communication console. What happens now? The Council will not accept this defeat. The Council no longer has a choice in the matter, came the reply. I have spent 1,000 years preparing for this moment. Every surviving species that they oppressed, every world they threatened, every being who ever dreamed of freedom. They all know what happened here today. The age of tyrants is ending. Ben looked out at the black ships surrounding Earth, then at the defeated Council representatives. Thaler's scarred face showed something Ben had never expected to see there: uncertainty. Your species has been given a gift, Zarathus continued. The chance to build something better than what came before. Use it wisely. The galaxy is watching. One by one, the black ships began to fade from view, disappearing into whatever dimension they had come from. Only the largest remained, hanging in space like a dark promise. Where will you go? Helen asked. Wherever freedom needs a guardian, Zarathus replied. The universe is vast, and there are still tyrants who need to learn that some debts can never be forgotten. The last ship vanished, leaving Earth alone with its new freedom and the weight of infinite possibility. Ben looked around the observation deck one more time. The Council representatives were gone, fled back to their masters, to report their failure. Admiral Brooks stood at the window, staring out at the stars with wonder in her eyes.